She was beautiful, bold, and unapologetically herself. To her online followers, Kat West was the perfect blend of glamour and rebellion, a small-town mom living a double life that blurred the line between domestic perfection and online seduction. But behind the laughter, the Marilyn Monroe curls, and the bright red lipstick, something darker was stirring. One quiet Alabama morning, the illusion shattered. Police found Kat lifeless on the cold pavement outside her home, barefoot, half-dressed, and surrounded by mystery. There was no sign of struggle, no blood trail, no forced entry. And yet something was terribly wrong. Her husband, Jeff West, stood just feet away, claiming he had no idea what happened. Who killed Kat West, the woman who lived for attention but died in silence? As we dive into this case, we uncover not just a crime, but a haunting reflection of how love, fame, and secrets can destroy everything that looks perfect on the outside. Welcome to the story of Kat West, the social media star whose life became her own final mystery. Behind the bright smile and playful confidence, Kat West carried a storm within her. Few people knew the truth, that the same woman who dazzled thousands online also fought silent battles with depression and addiction. Alcohol became her escape, therapy her attempt at healing. She was searching for meaning, for someone to understand her chaos, until she met Jeff West. It was 2004, at a lively Super Bowl party when their worlds collided. Jeff, a calm, disciplined former U.S. Army soldier, stood in sharp contrast to Kat's wild, magnetic energy. Yet somehow, opposites did attract. He made her feel safe. She made him feel alive. Within months, they married in a whirlwind Vegas ceremony and began building a life together. Wherever Jeff's work as a military recruiter took them, Kat followed, loyal, hopeful, believing she had finally found peace. By 2005, they welcomed their daughter, Lola. To the outside world, they were the picture of stability, the soldier, the homemaker, the dream home they built in Calera, Alabama. But peace, as always, was temporary. The quiet routines, the stress of parenting, and Jeff's long work hours began to drain the spark that once bound them. The couple craved connection again, a reminder of who they were before life became ordinary. So on January 12, 2018, Jeff and Kat decided to rekindle that old magic, a simple date night. They dropped their daughter off at Jeff's parents' house and set out to enjoy the evening. Dinner at Papa Do's, laughter at a local bar, and a final stop at a liquor store. Surveillance cameras caught them smiling, teasing, even sharing a light pat on the back, the picture of love. The clerk later said they looked like a great couple. But sometimes the calmest moments hide the loudest storms. Later that night, after several drinks and a seemingly perfect Instagram post, everything would change. By dawn, Kat West, once the life of every room, was found half naked, lifeless, and bleeding in the middle of the street outside her home. The dispatcher's chilling call echoed through the radio waves. Female in the road, naked, CPR no longer in progress. What really happened that night inside the West home? And how did a night meant to rekindle love end in death? Calera was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. A quiet Alabama town where people left the doors unlocked, where the loudest sounds were morning birds and the occasional passing train. But on this cold January morning, that silence shattered, replaced by the chilling words dispatchers hadn't spoken in over a decade. Possible homicide. For the officers rushing to the scene, it was unthinkable. Their peaceful town hadn't seen a murder in 10 years. But this wasn't just another case. It would become one of the strangest crimes they'd ever face, one that would divide a family and leave everyone questioning who to believe. When police arrived near the West family home, they found a woman named Makosha waiting with her father, both trembling. Moments earlier, she had left for work before sunrise, her headlights cutting through the fog. That's when she saw it, something lying in the road. At first, she thought it was debris, but as she slowed, the shape became horrifyingly clear. A woman, motionless, barely clothed. Panicking, she ran home and returned with her father. He bent down, his hand brushing against her back, cold as stone. No pulse, no breath, just silence and blood glistening under the dim streetlights. The body lay just across from the West's front yard. The woman wore only a sports bra. A pool of blood surrounded her head, and beside her, a cell phone and a bottle of lucid absinthe, the same drink she and her husband had bought just hours earlier. By then, flashing blue lights filled the street. Dogs barked. Neighbors emerged in their pajamas, whispering, pointing, realizing who it was. It was Cat West. As officers moved from house to house, one question echoed. Where's her husband? Every neighbor was outside, except Jeff. Then someone noticed him, standing quietly at his front door, arms folded, face expressionless. When detectives approached and told him his wife was dead, he didn't flinch. No tears, no shock, no attempt to run toward her body. Just silence. He calmly said he'd woken to the sound of sirens and was looking for his wife inside the house. But one detective couldn't help but ask the question everyone was thinking. Why were you looking for her, Jeff? Wasn't she supposed to be asleep right next to you? That was the moment suspicion began to bloom, and the story of love, lies, and death truly began to unfold. As detectives questioned Jeff, his calm demeanor never wavered. He began recounting the night, what happened after that cheerful Instagram post went up around 10 p.m., the post that had fooled everyone into thinking it was just a normal happy evening. Jeff said they'd planned to be intimate, but the moment was interrupted when he noticed Kat glued to her phone. Frustrated, he claimed he snatched it from her hands and hurled it out the front door into the street. They argued briefly, he said, but not wanting things to escalate, he went upstairs to bed, assuming she would soon follow. But she never did. That story might have seemed believable if not for one witness. The same neighbor who found Kat's body told police that she'd seen Jeff pacing back and forth inside his home before the sirens ever arrived. She was on the phone with 911, staring at him through her car windshield. If she was right, Jeff hadn't woken up to chaos. He'd already been awake, watching it unfold. The scene outside was chaotic and confusing. 2 pools of blood, a shattered phone, a bottle of liquor lying beside her body. With Kat's high blood alcohol level, the possibility that she had stumbled, fallen, and struck her head twice was hard to dismiss. Detectives needed science. The autopsy would tell the truth. When the results came in, they were grim. Blunt force trauma to the head. The blow had been deliberate and strong, yet there were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of another person inside the home, and no prior domestic violence reports between the couple. So what could explain this tragedy? Investigators started digging into Kat's life, and that's when they made a shocking discovery. Kat West, the charming small-town mother, had been living a double life online. She ran an OnlyFans account, sending explicit photos to subscribers for $15 a month. It was a secret world of over 50,000 strangers, and not a single person close to her, not even Jeff, seemed to know about it. Detectives immediately formed a theory. Jeff found out, jealousy consumed him, and rage turned deadly. It was a simple narrative, the kind the public could easily understand, but as they pressed Jeff for answers, the cracks in that story were only beginning to show.
Detectives thought they had their killer, the jealous husband who couldn't handle his wife's secret online life. But when they confronted Jeff West with the revelation about Kat's OnlyFans account, the entire theory fell apart. Jeff didn't deny it. He didn't even hesitate. He calmly explained that he'd known about her online persona all along, and more than that, he'd helped her create it. Jeff often took the photos himself, the very same seductive images her followers paid to see. To prove it, he showed detectives one of the pictures still on his phone, Kat posing confidently in lingerie, taken at the exact time he claimed. The revelation stunned investigators. The jealous husband motive vanished in an instant. Friends later confirmed Jeff's story, describing him as supportive, not controlling, a man who embraced Kat's boldness, not one who resented it. Together, they were a strange but loving pair who seemed to make their own rules and live by them. But while detectives were trying to make sense of this new twist, the autopsy report arrived, and it changed everything again. Kat's blood alcohol content was 0.23%, nearly 3 times the legal limit. Traces of semen were present, though too faint to identify. The cause of death: blunt force trauma to the head. What made this worse was the conclusion that such an injury couldn't have been caused by a simple fall, not from her height, not under those conditions. The gash matched almost perfectly with the size and shape of the liquor bottle found beside her body. Then came another strange detail. When Sergeant Milhoff reviewed the scene, he noticed how unnaturally perfect everything looked. The phone and absinthe bottle lying side by side, parallel, as though deliberately arranged. Forensics confirmed just fingerprints on the bottle, specifically his thumb and ring finger on the neck, the exact way someone would grip it to swing. Kat's blood was also found near the base, but that alone wasn't enough to prove the bottle was used as a weapon. He could have simply been carrying it from the car. Still, the inconsistencies piled up. 2 distinct blood pools, one on the grass near the house, another in the middle of the street where Kat's body was found, made the accident theory almost impossible. For it to be true, she would have had to fall once, bleed heavily, rise again despite her injury, walk across the street, and then collapse once more. Finally, digital evidence filled in the silent moments of that night. Kat's fitness tracker showed movement between 10:45 and 10:54 p.m., covering roughly 64 meters before stopping completely. At that same moment, the home security system logged the front door opening and closing. 10:54 p.m., the last confirmed moment Kat West was alive. It was the kind of neighborhood where nothing ever went wrong. Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, and the sound of children playing outside. But on the night of January 15, 2018, that peaceful illusion shattered. Kathleen West, a beautiful 42-year-old wife and mother, was found dead outside her home. The woman who once smiled brightly in her photos, who lived a double life as an adult-themed model on OnlyFans, suddenly became the center of a horrifying mystery that left everyone asking, who killed Kat West? As detectives began digging into the evidence, their focus slowly turned toward one man, her husband, Jeff West. The digital trail became their most powerful clue. The data from the couple's phones and smart devices told a chilling story. The front door of their home opened and closed multiple times that night. It first closed at 11:03 p.m., just minutes after Jeff's phone showed its last activity. Then at 1:51 p.m., the door opened again and stayed open until it closed at 5:12 p.m. Around that same moment, Jeff's phone suddenly recorded 59 steps between 5:12 and 5:22 p.m. The timing was too perfect to ignore. Kat's movement stopped around midnight, and Jeff's activity picked up just when the door moved again. The data suggested someone inside that house was awake long after Kat was gone. Detectives ruled out the possibility of a stalker or a fan from Kat's OnlyFans page. No one had broken into the house. No neighbors heard screams, no dogs barked, no cars came or left. Everything pointed to someone inside, someone who knew her best. When they pieced together the timeline, the evidence started stacking up against Jeff. His fingerprints were inside, his phone data aligned with every suspicious moment, and his story didn't fully match what the digital evidence revealed. On February 22, 2018, 6 weeks after Kat's death, police made their move. In the early morning, officers surrounded Jeff's house. Neighbors watched in disbelief as Jeff stepped outside, hands raised, before being handcuffed and taken away. News cameras captured every second. A husband once seen as quiet and devoted was now the prime suspect in a case that had shocked an entire community. But behind the flashing lights and breaking headlines, something didn't sit right. There was no direct evidence, no weapon with his fingerprints, no eyewitnesses, no confession, only a digital trail and a story that could be interpreted
in more than one way. Jeff insisted he was innocent. He told detectives that Kat often drank heavily, and when she did, she would strip down and jump on their backyard trampoline, something her own mother heartbreakingly confirmed in court. That explained why Kat was found half-dressed that night, but it didn't explain how she died. This wasn't just a story about a murder. It was a story about love, secrets, and a digital footprint that could either prove a man's guilt or expose a devastating misunderstanding.
Kat West was found half-dressed and barefoot, her body cold on the suburban street. For months, detectives believed they had everything they needed, until doubt began to creep in. The evidence wasn't ironclad, and without a murder weapon or confession, prosecutors feared the case might fall apart. Before the trial began, Jeff West was offered a plea deal. If he admitted to killing his wife, he could walk free with time already served. But Jeff refused. He looked straight at his attorney and said, "I will not admit to something I didn't do." That decision would cost him nearly 3 years behind bars, waiting for his day in court. When the trial finally opened in November 2020, the courtroom was packed with reporters, photographers, and curious locals. The prosecution painted Jeff as a husband pushed past his breaking point, a man who killed his wife with a single, deadly blow from a liquor bottle. They pointed to his fingerprints on the bottle, the blood found on a towel in their bedroom, and the strange placement of objects at the scene as signs of a staged cover-up. But Jeff's defense team had a different story. They argued Kat's death was a tragic accident fueled by alcohol, a night of heavy drinking that spiraled out of control. They reminded the jury that no blood or DNA was ever found on Jeff's clothes or body. The liquor bottle, supposedly the murder weapon, had no traces of tissue, hair, or blood spatter consistent with a violent attack. And inside the house, there were no signs of a struggle. Throughout the 5-day trial, the jury was shown dozens of text messages between the couple. Most were harmless, even affectionate, late-night chats, apologies, and playful teasing. But others revealed cracks beneath the surface. In one message, just 8 days before her death, Kat wrote, "I know you're scared to tell me you don't want to be with me anymore, but lying hurts me more." Another read, "You're throwing away a 14-year marriage." Yet, in the same thread, she sent him intimate photos, thanking him for making her feel beautiful. The messages painted a portrait of a complicated love, one filled with tension but not hatred, hurt but not violence. And that was Jeff's strongest defense, the claim that whatever went wrong that night, it wasn't murder. As the jury listened to Jeff's police interrogation, they heard his calm but broken voice say, "I never hurt my wife. I would never harm her, not even by mistake." Outside the courthouse, the media frenzy raged on, fueled by headlines about Kat's double life, a suburban mother by day and an adult model by night. But when the cameras turned off and the noise faded, the truth became much more complicated than anyone imagined. Jeff claimed that despite their arguments, Kat never cheated on him. He insisted they had a passionate but loyal marriage, one that outsiders misunderstood. Yet as the trial progressed, the jury was shown private messages that hinted at emotional distance. Kat confessed she wasn't happy with their intimate life, admitting she wanted affection more often than Jeff could give. At times, she even mentioned curiosity about being with women, comments that may have added silent tension between them. Despite these revelations, something unexpected happened inside the courtroom. Not only did Jeff's parents defend him, Kat's parents did too. They described Jeff as a loving, patient husband who adored his daughter and always took care of his wife. To them, he wasn't a monster. He was family.
Still, the jury's focus remained fixed on the evidence. After only 5 hours of deliberation, they returned with a verdict that shocked everyone. William Jeffrey West was found guilty, but not of murder. The jury decided his wife's death was manslaughter. They believed Jeff had followed Kat outside after an argument, still holding the liquor bottle from their drinking that night. In a moment of anger, he may have swung it, a single blow that ended her life. Then, in a haze of panic, he tried to make it look like an accident. When the verdict was read, Jeff didn't move. He stood motionless, his eyes locked on the floor. The courtroom was silent. Judge William Bostick sentenced him to 16 years in prison, giving him credit for the 3 years he'd already served. He noted his clean record, his military service, and the heartfelt pleas from his daughter, his mother, and even Kat's mother. But justice as it stood would not bend. Jeff appealed the decision, but the Alabama Supreme Court denied it. His fate was sealed. If nothing changes, he will remain in prison until February 2034. And so, the story of Kathleen West ends in heartbreak. Whether her death was a tragic accident or an act of rage, one truth remains. 2 lives were lost that night. Kat's body may be gone, but Jeff's freedom was buried alongside her. Their daughter, the one person they both loved most, was left behind, without a mother and without a father. Kat wasn't the villain the media painted her to be. She was vibrant, fearless, and unapologetically herself. She wasn't living a double life. She was living her truth, balancing motherhood, marriage, and identity in a world quick to judge. And now, years later, people still ask the same haunting question. Did Jeff West really do it? Or did a tragic accident destroy a family and leave the world searching for someone to blame?
Of 2018, and also taking issue with his constant consumption of alcohol. Video of an interrogation with law enforcement revealed Jeff admitting that he and Kat drank heavily on the last night she was seen alive, but he says he passed out before anything else happened. Kat's body was found near their Calera home in the early morning hours of January 13, 2018. And Jeff went on to say that Kat West never stepped out on him during their marriage. He also denied any involvement in her death. The trial picks back up here tomorrow morning.